before they could disburse loans to government, even because most of the ministers, like you said, they will go to bed.
Yeah.
Having passed the law. But when they are caught up in a tight corner,
that's why they run. Yeah, they come rushing on subsidiary legislation.
Let's do our work, Chairman.
Okay, so I think that let's insist and let's argue forcefully on the floor of Parliament that we insist that 12 months after coming into force of any act, should the sponsoring institution, organization, or persons must come through with a legislative instrument to operationalize the law. So may I urge members of this committee, I know members of Human Rights Committee are here. We have very good friends who joined us. And so we should argue this very forcefully on the floor of Parliament that we insist that a 12 months period and we may now have to take away the may and put a shall there so that we can go enforcing. Yeah, if you say may, it's as good as not putting it there.
Honorable Chair,
yes.
Let me crave your indulgence here. And sorry, apologies for coming in later. But in principle, I'm agreeable to the proposal being made, except that we may have to look at the time frame that we're given. I will have wished that maybe
6 months.
No,
you should bring it to 6 months.
Maybe.
No, I think it should be standard.
Or like 18 months.
No, we've already legislated 12 months.
Yes,
okay.
And it's on. So we should just continue with it. There are many bills we legislated 12 months.
Because most of it, they complain of financial constraints here and there. I've been on the subsidiary for some time.
Yeah.
And they use the finance as an excuse for not coming quickly with their regulations.
No, if we make it mandatory, they'll go and look for the finance.
Chairman, thank you very much. And a good morning to you. I want to thank the leadership, the joint leadership, and the committee and all CSOs for the very productive deliberations yesterday and how it has taken off very creditably today. On the clause under review, I agree that indeed it must be shall, not may, and I also agree that there should be a sunset clause within 1 year. This, we all agree, is a bill which has received more public interest than any other bill I'm aware of in the last 10 years. There's a bill that has become a topical campaign promise. In fact, from Osajefo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, our first president, till now, this is the only bill that we have had presidential candidates expressly and specifically making campaign promises tied to the passage, the assenting, and implementation of same. And therefore, it is not a bill that must be treated without a sunset clause, and which sunset clause should be deferred to a period later than 1 year. So it is an expectation that with a close collaboration between the sponsors and the relevant ministries, the minister responsible in this contest will have, as a matter of urgency, must take steps as soon as it is assented to by the president. Now that the speaker has given us indication that in about 3 weeks when we reopen, is going to be passed with alacrity and with the diligence and magnanimity of our chairman, Honorable Mahama, we will be able to see this pass before the end of May. And then once the president assents to this
certificate of emergency
before the end of June, even within this year, so within 1 year, we should that will clock the bill with the necessary implementation strategies to be able to
Rev, thank you so much.
To see it running, so that we clamp down on these absurdities.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, good Chair. Good morning, and then thank you for leadership for continual leadership you are providing for us to stay affair of this bill. Chairman, my concern is despite you are putting 12 months on the bill, My question is, if it is it's a government-sponsored bill, that agency in terms of using the 12-month will apply. What about private members bill? Where people are they going to use their private money to actually finance private members bill in terms of regulation? Especially this one is private members bill.
Once it becomes an act, I mean, it's no longer a private members act. It becomes an act of parliament. So the state will take control of that. So the ministries we have mentioned here, very big ministries with muscle. I mean, health, gender. They are state actors. They're all interested parties. Age Commission is there. They have plenty money. The last time we approved a huge budget for them. So,
Chair, the Age Commission, they are not being resourced. I'm a member of the Age Commission, but they are not being resourced.
Very well.
Under the
We will discuss that one later. Shraj is here. Legal aid is here. Age Commission here. I mean, all the interested parties and bodies are here. So, I mean, once it becomes an act, it is an act of parliament, and it doesn't matter.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Leadership will have
Mr.
to wait.
Chairman, but leadership here have all spoken. Mr. Chairman, I have to be given more opportunity to speak than anybody else.
Are you sure?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, so the point has to be made that the province of Parliament is to make laws. As to whether the ministers or the ministries would enforce them goes beyond our mandate. So the standard that we have adopted as Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee is that every regulation that has to come under an act, pursuant to an act, must be done within 1 year. So 12 months should be standard.
Yeah.
As to whether it will be followed or not should be the province of another entity. Private citizens can take it up to ensure that some of these things are done.
Yep.
But Mr. Chairman, the minister here, and the interpretation says the minister, in this case, is the minister responsible for culture. May we look at this again? Shouldn't it be the Attorney General? Shouldn't it be that? Because this is essentially an issue of crime. At the core of it is about regulating behavior to avoid the commission of an offense. So much as we are talking about family values and all of that, but it's also, a criminal enterprise that we are trying to proscribe. And I think that the Attorney General should be the lead person to deal with this matter.
No, but
I think that is a proposal that I want to put across.
I disagree.
Because I'm not too sure this is just about our customs and traditions and all of that.
It's human sexual rights and family values. Whatever that comes afterwards is as a result of the human sexual rights and family values. And so that's the trust of it. The AG's work will come through when you look at the nitty-gritties of it. So I still think the Ministry of Culture, it's well placed to oversee this. Honorable Chair may I indulge the Tony first?
You're welcome. We know you are here. Chairman, let's look at the 17. I think that this bill would require the input of many more other ministries other than those mentioned under clause 17. And for that reason, we may have to do an insertion, delete and before health, and make an insertion to say and other relevant ministries. Because if you think of it critically, it would require the input of Defense, Interior, the AG, etc., etc. Local government, chieftaincy. Thank you.
Yes, I think it's fine. It's a good call. So now, should we restrict it, or we can say, because they are consulting with others to make the LI?
So I respectfully advise that we have in consultation with relevant.
Okay. Yeah, without necessarily mentioning them.
Yes.
Yes.
I should think so.
Chairman.
So just a minute. So we don't mention any ministry. We just say in consultation with the relevant agencies.
Yes.
No, some ministers.
They will go to her.
You go to it, if you don't
Some chairman,
assign a
Where will they go to?
No, I mean, I wasn't mentioned. It's not my responsibility.
minister, chairman.
There must be
Honorable
a
Chair.
lead minister
Yes.
or agency.
So in this case, the Minister for Culture is the lead minister.
Yeah.
He will consult.
He will consult with.
agencies.
He will consult with relevant ministries.
Health, gender.
No, so we are saying that there's no point in mentioning health, gender. Once the lead ministry is there, that's culture.
No, some will have to be mentioned. Some will have to be mentioned.
Especially those who
Yeah.
will be mentioned in the act.
They have to be mentioned.
Okay, so after mentioning health, gender, then we add another.
Right. So, Honorable Chair,
Let's conclude on that one.
yes. So,
I didn't come across legislation when we are imposing the duty of regulations, we say relevant agencies. We usually will state
Which other ministry is mentioned here? Let's finish with this one.
Chairman, as far as human rights are concerned, it cuts across all ministries. So I will propose that once we mention health, gender, children, and social protection, then we add other relevant ministries.
The problem is that we don't want to deviate from our drafting. We will have to be mindful of that. But you see, when you say in consultation, I mean, by all means, before you finish with your LI, whether these institutions are mentioned or not, you would have consulted the relevant institutions to come out with the LI. And so putting a tall list of institutions here will just not make any. So let's leave that consultation open. But we can mention the two institutions who have been specifically mentioned in this bill. And then the consultation, we can leave that discretion to the chieftaincy ministry to do the consultation.
all right. Honorable Chair, I have
On the same
an amendment on this same clause. And my amendment takes into consideration the concerns from Honorable Deputy Rankin and Honorable Tony. In combining these thoughts, my rendition will be the minister, and in this case, the lead ministry being the Attorney General,
No.
shall, in consultation
No.
with ministers responsible for.
No.
Just hear my amendment out, please, because this amendment, whether it's upheld here or not, I'll still propose it on the floor anyway. So please hear me out. The minister, in this case, the lead minister, in my view, the minister that has the gravitas to be able to more comprehensively and competently draft legislation, regulations that can support the effective implementation of the intendment of this bill is the Office of the Attorney General. Yes, it is of cultural in nature, but we must also not forget that from the memorandum accompanying this bill, we are drawing it from the anachronistic nature of Act 29, which is in the bosom of the Attorney General, the Criminal and Other Offences Act. We thought that just our natural canon knowledge is not sufficient we are seeking to expand that. But the larger objective is cultural in nature. And it is for this principle that, if you recall, when the President Mahama, had calls to engage Catholic Bishop Conference and a wider section of faith-based organizations, he even promised that he is considering a government-sponsored bill to be sponsored by the Office of the Attorney General, because this is where it well lies in their bosom. Because the Ministry of Culture, creative arts, though it is, marriage is cultural in nature, but its legal enforcement and regulations around it. If you are considering a ministry that will have the technical capacity to be able to draft, proper regulations, the lead ministry must be the Attorney General, and then you consult the Minister for Gender, Minister for Culture, Minister for Health. These are the three critical, in my view, ministries that the Office of the Attorney General.
So,
and for which that is my proposal.
No, that's
so
fine.
my rendition is the minister shall, in consultation with ministers responsible for culture, gender, and health, by legislative instruments within 1 year of coming to force of this act, make regulations to so and so. Then in the interpretation, we amend the definition of minister to be the Minister for Justice and Attorney General. Thank you.
Well, so 2 responses to your request. The first is that there is no bill, no ally that comes through, that Parliament is seized with, that has not passed through the AG. So that is a given. It doesn't matter whether the title is children, it is this. Otherwise, we could have just said the Children's Act, which is basically enforceable things under the AG, should have gone through the AG. Yes. So please. Let's be very clear. The fact that AG does a drafting and then the rest of that does not mean this bill should go under their care. They are by law supposed to, these bills and allies are all supposed to pass through the AG before they come to Parliament. So even if they are drafted from a different department, they will still pass through the AGs. There is no bill or ally that Parliament is seized with that has not passed through the AG before getting into Parliament. So with that one, I think that we should still leave this human sexual rights, family values, purely under the care of the Ministry of, the legalities and stuff notwithstanding. I think we should still leave it under that ministry.
Yes, Chair, and also to add to your point is in the initiation of this bill and all that, the drafting, AG department is already involved in doing the drafting. And my next question is, yes, they are already part of the drafting of the bills that comes to Parliament. So they are already involved. Second, there is no department or ministries that human rights issues are not of concern for. It cut across every institution in Ghana. So when it comes to issues of human rights, every ministry, every institution is involved. But it's only you want a ministry that will lead this process. And then I think it's appropriate to be stayed there.
I recognize Chairman for Human Rights. Now that you have mentioned human rights, honorable name, you're most welcome.
Thank you, Chair. My apologies for my absence yesterday. Protozoa stepped in well yesterday.
Who told you he stepped in well?
I monitored proceedings, and I've also Honorable Frank Garcia Dubequin, the Member of Parliament for Suhum, aka Protozoa. Chair, thank you so much. I think. I think our proposal had been for 17 with the relevant ministries, but I think that has been settled. But then I'm also happy that yesterday we were able to take the public health concerns from civil society and all the other partners that we've been working with as a Human Rights Committee, and we are happy that this committee is ready to listen to the concerns of well-meaning Ghanaians as well. So that's what I just wanted to bring up. Thank you.
On that note, we can move on to, if there's no any other correction, 17. We can do 18 now, interpretation. Issues of definition. Yes, ally, depending on wherever you're coming from, whichever school you attended. Bisexual, child, creative art industry, family values. Gay, gender, human sexual rights. Intersex, lesbian, LGBTQAP+, marriage, minister, non-binary, pansexual activity, queer, relevant authority, sex, sexual activity, transgender, transsexual, class. Any issues, please?
There was one petition that
You have the floor.
Has the Marriages Act been amended?
Sorry.
Hasn't any aspect of the Marriages Act been amended?
Dr. Foley, you Marriages Act.
Yes, the
Aspect of it has been amended.
none. Yes, no aspect has been amended.
Marriages Act. No amendments.
I'm one to say.
You people are happy with the
Amended
act.
by necessary application in some.
Sana, are you happy with?
Itself.
It was revised,
It was revised, yes.
2010, but after that, there has been no amendment.
But 2010 is not that.
The Council for Law Review.
Review commission, that is VCRAC.
VCRAC CRAPS.
Yes, we revised it.
What's the nature of the revision?
It's just to align from ordinance to act. Okay. That's the, realignment to reflect.
But even that work was not conclusive, isn't it?
VCRC.
VCRC.
It was fast. That's why we have those great
That one too, there is a problem. Some people believe that VCRAC CRAP amended a lot of laws. So much. He amended a lot of laws.
That's a different matter. That's a different matter. Yes, Dr. Foley.
Thank you, Chair.
Are you going to talk on VCRC?
No. Good.
Yes.
Okay.
We just wanted to take you back to 17 again. We're proposing that for 17B, we propose a new IV which will take care of. So the rendition for 17B would rather be III, which is assistance for intersex persons. Then III, the effective and efficient implementation of this act, and IV, public health and safety considerations. That would help deal with all these public health concerns and issues.
What you mean we should enact a whole LI on public health and safety concerns?
No. So, no. So,
No, that's what it means.
providing for.
Yes.
That means that you have to put it in the airline.
Yes. So once you are providing for effective and efficient implementation, this is omnibus.
Yes.
So that will cover any other thing you think of.
Including public health.
Everything, yes, that's right. Here we are specific because these two, we want that out. We want a document on victims of sexual activities. Then it's sitting down. This is a manual, this is a document. That is clear for everybody. Then we want a document for assistance for intersex persons. This is a special group that we have discussed in here. So we are specific on these two because we want those documents out. Any other can be provided for under III.
In addition to that,
including the consent that you have raised.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
in addition
absolutely.
to what you're saying, by the canons of interpretation, the rule on mosquito sources, the effective and efficient implementation of this act means that what has been provided for prior and any other related matter can be captured.
That's right.
What we have not even thought about and contemplated can be captured under it.
It's omnibus enough.
And I think that this is more than enough to take care of it.
So, Chairman, you are covered. Chairman, you are covered.
And Chair, to even further assure my good chairman is my boss on the Human Rights Committee, and all our stakeholders. In fact, they'll be heavily involved in the LI because there'll be a lot of these concerns, and the concerns particularly on reporting, as was treated under Clause 17. And was split into 17 and 18, where extrajudicial treatment was even separated. We'll give details to how reference even should be made to the Evidence Act and how public health concerns should be dealt with, how protection of agencies, as Chairman is opening remarks, Ghana AIDS Commission and the legal aid and all SHRAJ and all those will make very comprehensive guidelines. And I think that for the LI to be effective, all these agencies, representatives from Ministry of Health, will have to be heavily involved in order that it will fit the description of effective and efficient implementation. Thank you.
Very well. Back to 18, adaptation. Yes.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just a couple of points we wanted to put before the committee. We want to suggest that you consider definition, more
on 18?
On 18, yes. Okay. On material. So when you think of material, we add a clear definition, and we had a proposal to say material resources means tangible or intangible assets, goods, equipment, facilities, or services provided for the specific purpose of facilitating the commission of an act prohibited under this act, but does not include. And from the discussions we held yesterday on the various public health, legal, and other social interventions that we would want sort of exempted from the act, we had a long list of resources. So the exemptions would include resources provided in the course of ordinary transactions, commercial transactions, in the discharge of duty of care, maintenance, support arising from any enactment, customary law, family obligations, the medical health. So in order not to, since we had gone over these yesterday in the previous definitions,
can you take us into the body of the draft bill where we use material so that we can get a context?
Right. Thank you.
So just take us back so that we can follow.
Because under clause 11, where provision of funding and sponsorship is treated.
Which page?
I don't see material resources.
Yes, so we thought that we should have a definition of material resources. It's quite central to
Clause 9. Clause 9. Which particular subclause are we referring to?
Clause 9.1.
9.1. Subject to the concession, a person shall not market, broadcast, disseminate, or publish through distribute through, then you have A and B, a material for purposes. So it was that material we wanted to give context to. Yes, that was our proposal.
Yeah, because if we say material, we need to know what material you're talking about, isn't it?
Yes. For the material, I agree. That definition that Doc has proposed will be very tenable. I only disagree with the exceptions Doc intends to create, even in that definition, because in the context of 9.1, it goes on to say for purposes of promoting an act prohibited under this act. That exception is already made. And so we can only go ahead to define the material without having to repeat an exception in that definition. Because so long as that material is not intended to promote any act prohibited under the act, there's no fears about it. And then the law is very clear.
So if you go over what you mean by the material, then we can tweak it.
Thank you, Chair. So, of course, we'll take guidance also from drafting. So we had said material resources, but if it has to be material, we would still go with means, tangible or intangible assets, goods, equipment, facilities, or services provided for the specific purpose of facilitating the commission of an act prohibited under this act.
No, it will not.
Services.
Yes, so Senator Kamen.
I think I heard him mention services, but that cannot be part of definition for material as used in the bill.
Perhaps information.
Rev, Listener Landa. So if you take off the services, is there any other thing that you have an issue with?
Material could
Facilities.
Facilities, okay.
Yes, I don't think in material we ordinarily include facilities.
Material connotes something tangible, not an intangible. So that's my understanding. I don't know whether I mean. So you can use a material of radio to broadcast something. What you are broadcasting is intangible, but the material exactly.
Material
an
like
item.
This book. German material like this book. This LGBT book
you're out of order.
Government has printed and distributed.
Rev, you're out of order.
This LGBT material.
So, Mr. Chairman, we may be guided by the interpretation parts and the creative art industry. So something like that could also serve as a guide for us. Then we can
go over that again.
Creative art industry includes cultural sites, visual art, traditional cultural expression, that kind of thing. So then those are the non-tangibles. So then we can now relate tangible stuff to the material that we are working with.
So on that note, can you redo the definition for the material? We can give you some time to recraft it while we go through other stuff. Then we'll pick it up before we leave. Yes, Vivi.
And I'm just thinking if looking at it in the format of a use them rule, generics, you see that we have listed some items. Said that a phone, an internet service, an electronic device, or any other device capable of electronic storage or transmission, a material for purposes of promoting an act. So it falls within those categories like an item, anything, and it goes into what my learned brother Hassan said, that it shouldn't be any intangible. Any item that is capable of being used in that line falls within, because a material is a tangible item.
Very well. Honorable Gakwe.
Chair, so based on the definition, if material is tangible, internet service is not tangible. It's a service. So if you want to go by that, when you say internet It's a service.
Yeah.
But if you say computer, it's tangible. So for me, when you go by that line that material you want to define is as tangible, we'll go wrong based on what my learned colleague have mentioned.
Yeah. So, Doc, do you want to reconsider?
So yes, I think we can work and then supply the committee with something that captures the discussions.
Very well.
Our other recommendation is on the definition of, I think yesterday the committee discussed at length romantic relations, and we were going to propose that under the definition of gay, we remove romantic relations. But I think there was an extensive discussion on the inclusion of romantic relations in the bill. Our next recommendation for your consideration is under family values. In defining family values, we make reference to gender. It says gender at birth. But respectfully also, if you look at gender and sex, they are two distinct terminologies. And we propose that the committee rather consider sex at birth, because that is determined at birth. Gender is a social construct that comes later, so it will better serve the purpose of the law to actually have sex instead of gender. So under definition of family values, yes, it says A, respect for the sanctity of marriage as a lifelong relationship between a man and a woman, each of whose gender is determined at birth. We thought it would better read, each of whose sex is determined at birth.
No, I think we are using the Christian name of sex. That's why we are using gender. The value is the same, more or less, but we're just using the Christian name of sex.
Yes, so, Chairman, already we have defined gender to mean the binary sex categories of male and female determined at birth, and the behavioral, cultural, and psychological traits typically associated with either sex, but does not include transgender, gender nonconformity, or non-binary categories. We are clear in our minds in this bill the definition of gender, and it fits very well in the context of what we mean by family values, and therefore there is no need to interchange that for sex. Because we are very clear on that one. But Chair, I have
no, so let's stay on that first.
Okay.
So the binary sex category.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Of male and female.
Then let's begin.
And determine at birth.
Non-binary. That non-binary has also been defined.
Yes. So what is non-binary?
That was
Non-binary
means a sex categorization
other than male and female.
Other than male or female.
Which is
so binary is the categorization.
K, and all the
Non-binary, it says means a sex categorization other than male and female. In other words, by necessary implication, binary means a sex categorization reference to male and female. So then we use that definition and go and then fit into the gender one.
So it means that these two are confusing. Oliver.
What's in the definition of non-binary? I wanted to flag that the way in which it is defined, it affects again the intersex issue that we mentioned, that was discussed earlier. Because the understanding is that they don't fit into the binary of male or female.
Yeah.
But the way if you go back to define non-binary, then you have brought them back through the door of non-binary again within the scope.
Intersex has also been defined.
Yes.
And it says that a person whose sexual anatomy or chromosomes does not fit the traditional markers of male or female determined at birth.
Exactly. And so it coincides with the non-binary definition.
Yes, so
So then unless you
that one is
accept it,
correct.
that it doesn't
It does
refer
not
to
affect
intersex.
intersex, yes.
Yes, so then you
We have made all the exceptions where we are referencing, the community. We always accept intersex. That was done consistently yesterday.
So the
What would
definition
you
would have to
suggest,
accept it
Oliver?
as well.
What would you suggest? Looking
That
at
the
the two
definition of
definitions.
non-binary, it's clear that it doesn't include intersex. Because if it's broad enough that it falls in the category.
Very well. Chairman, I'm amenable to that. So that the definition of number now we read means a set categorization other than male and female except for intersex.
Yes, so we should accept intersex.
Consistency, yeah. I agree.
All right. So, Chairman, whilst on it, so coming to the definition of intersex, I wish that to bring the clearer meaning of what we are intending, we rearrange and rather say intersex means a person whose sexual anatomy or chromosomes, as determined at birth, does not fit the traditional markers of male or female.
Traditional. So we are just
Instead of leaving the
changing
determined at birth to the last. So means a person whose sexual anatomy or chromosomes, as determined at birth, does not fit the traditional markers of male or female.
drafting. I think it's perfect. Yeah.
I think this rendition looks like it fits the purpose.
And Chairman, again on plus, the last definition we provided there. Plus means any other gender identity not contained in the short acronym LGBTQAP+. And I suggest an addition to it to include, that would say, but contrary to the binary categories of male and female assigned at birth.
Check again, shake it now. Yes. Okay, sure. Okay.
So when you get to the definition of plus, which is the last definition, where we have ended, I'm suggesting we include but contrary, so the whole thing will read any other gender identity not contain the short acronym LGBTQAP+, but contrary to the binary categories of male and female assigned at birth.
Well, for the avoidance of doubt. Mr. Chairman, let's look at pansexual.
Sena, please do. Then we get that.
Plus means any other gender identity not contained in the short acronym LGBTQAP+, but contrary to the binary categories of male and female assigned at birth. And Chairman, I propose this because as we go on, there are various dimensions of variants of LGBT that are emerging, which after the promulgation of this law, another category, maybe E or F or C or whatever, may connote it.
May surface.
So, for the avoidance of doubt. So, we are saying that plus takes care of any other thing.
Then are you good with it? Because we have defined plus
foreseeable.
So, once we come to plus, you can tweak that.
No, there's a plus that I'm adding this one.
Yes.
I'm qualifying the plus.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes.
So we are doing.
But what do you think about it?
Shraj.
All right, thank you.
Let's hear from you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning. Mr. Chair, please, I'm still doing some research, but the definition for intersex, I think we have agreed that we want a rendition that does not create an issue of stigma.
Yeah.
And for me, does not fit the traditional markers. I'm struggling with it. So I'm looking for a solution.
So please, before we conclude, come out with something.
Solution, yes.
And then
it doesn't sit well with me. I'll create it.
I'm sure you and you, Oliver and Rachel, you can just work together and come up with some definition.
That doesn't create the issue of stigma.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Yes. Sit down.
So if by what Reverend has given, are we going to amend the first clause application? Are we going to define the plus?
Yes, we have defined it. It's the last definition.
So are we going to add it to the list of applicants?
Yes.
Those who hold themselves out. Chair, I don't know whether you are getting me.
Yeah, please, go over it again.
What I'm saying is that now we are defining the plus, but we haven't defined the plus when it comes to clause 1.
We haven't criminalized.
Yeah.
No, that's very, very correct. It's true.
It's an omission.
The scope of application under
the plus.
Under one.
A.
Are you suggesting we add
plus?
The plus.
Yes.
Oh, okay. The IX.
No,
the
I don't think so.
The IX. This guy.
Yes. So if you do IX, a person of any other sexual orientation or in a sexual relationship that is contrary to the social cultural relationship between a male and a female.
So it takes care of that.
Yeah.
It takes care of that. But thanks for drawing our attention, but it takes care of it.
Yep. So that is omnibus enough.
So let's look at pansexual.
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 On page what?
And on page 17.
Page 17.
Pansexual and pansexual activity. If I get it correctly, it means if you are engaged in a sexual activity as a male with two females, what we call threesome, and then the two females, I'm just giving an example, and the two females are also having.
Do you define threesome by?
I'm just giving an example.
Combination.
Threesome can be one male,
that's right,
two female,
okay,
one female,
so they are just
two males.
They are
you understand?
There's no
or
combination.
it can be 4, it can be 5, or whatever. But I'm saying that if you are engaged in that activity as a male or a female, and there are other people who are also engaged in the same enterprise, and they probably are not doing what heterosexuals do, and they are doing what the LGBT community does, you could be caught up under this one. If it's the same enterprise. Let's get the understanding correctly so that we are all on the same page.
Specifically under
page 17.
Yes,
the last two.
So
pansexual and pansexual activity.
Yeah, so Chairman, pansexual says
yes.
Pansexual means a person who engages in a sexual or romantic activity with persons of any gender identity or expression, including a person who does not fit into the binary sex categorization of male and female.
Yeah, that's what we have here.
Yes.
Do you want to?
Yeah. What that means is that such people, for them, they don't discriminate. They do everything some. They do with L, they do with G, they do with B, they do with T, they do with K, they do with A, they do with everything. Yes, those are the people we are calling pan. Oftentimes, when you say lesbian, the lesbian is a female who will do it with a female. The gay is a male who will do it with a male, who will do with a male. And then when you talk about bisexual, the bisexual will do it with, if it's a man, he will do it with a man, and then he will also do it with a female. But for pansexual, for them,
hopping,
it's like a universal donor.
Exactly.
they have omnibus license to operate, which is very greedy.
Very well. So in that, we are cool with the definition for Doc Foley. Any other definitions?
Very well, Chairman. Thank you, Chair. We also noticed something under family values. Do we want to define family in our context? And Honorable Chair and members, this is important because we use certain terms, in our everyday connotation, family, community, but for the purposes of this, would the House consider adding a definition of family, just for clarity? We say family values, but the family in which context? Our broader extended family, because family in our anthropological and sociological context is beyond the nuclear.
Your family. Your family.
Under the Marriages Act, there's family is not there. Family is not there, so that's a consideration. Very well.
The Children's Act. Do we have family defined there?
It doesn't have family defined there. In fact, Honorable Chair, if I recall, when we were doing the Child and Family Welfare Policy, when Honorable Oye Bampuado was minister, we struggled with the definition of community in Ghana. Is East Legon a community as opposed to, maybe a small section of Shama? Yes, who have a sense of community belonging, but here everybody's, because we needed that definition of community when we said a child who is violated in the community gets the response of the community. So that's where some of these considerations came in, that when we are doing law and policy, we think of some of these terms. So that's one, Chair.
Shraj, are you able to help us with family?
Chairman, I have a All right, Chairman, I have a definition from the Article 18.1 and 2 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. And this is found on the page VIII of the memo accompanying the bill. And I read, Article 18.1 and 2 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights states as follows: the family shall be the natural units and basis of society. It shall be protected by the state, and it shall take care of its physical health and morale. This does not quite give, but we have stated it, I'll find it in a page, but it specifically refers to family as a unit emanating from a marriage between man and woman, whose gender determined at birth. I'll try and fetch it from the memo.
This definition,
yes,
from an African context?
Yes. We indicated it in the memo. I'll in a few minutes, Chairman, I'll get that definition.
So, Doc Foley, will it hurt if we just go ahead and define family values without necessarily conscripting ourselves to looking at what a family is?
Family has nothing.
The fact that it's a compound name,
human rights and family
we should
value.
separate and define them. Let's know what family value is. And once we appreciate what family value is, we go ahead without necessarily looking for our trouble.
Why are we inviting this trouble?
No, we shouldn't invite any trouble.
Otherwise, you
Yes. Senior.
family, extended family.
Senior. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the last definition, the plus.
So, can you let us conclude on this one? And then, so we are agreeable that let's not invite any trouble. What Reverend read from the African perspective, from a typical Ghanaian perspective, that cannot qualify as a family. And so,
Mr. Chairman, even in the Constitution,
So we can leave out the definition for family and then concentrate on what family value is. Once we get that within the context of this bill, we are good to go. You were referring us to the Constitution.
Yes, I cannot actually get, but in the Constitution, it specifies that the family is the basic unit on which it's in the Constitution. I found it.
Yes, when you do, before we vacate here, let's know exactly what it is. Still on family values, please.
Chairman, the family values, BII, page 15.
Which document are you referring to?
The clause 18.
18, okay.
And BII on page 15. It says that the ultimate purpose for the role of government in protecting and advancing the family as the basic unit of society. So the family as a basic unit of society, just to add up to what Bachman has stated.
As a basic unit of society is to safeguard and promote the best interest of children. Well, so the reason the definition says it includes. So there may be others. And as and when they are determined.